Hey everybody, it's Find My Past from Home. It's Friday and we're always so excited to have you with us on Friday. It's New Records Day, always a fantastic day. Um, we started a couple of seconds early. I forgot to press the button. Sorry, Ellie. Ellie's in the comments with us today. Everybody say hello. Let us know where you're at. Let us know who you are, what you're working on, the research you've been doing. We want to hear it all. So lay it out. My name is Jen Baldwin. I am I had to think about what I was going to say. I'm Jen Baldwin, Data Acquisition Manager and Global Ambassador Program Lead for Find My Past. And it is always such a joy to be with you on Fridays. It's Friday morning for me out in the United States, Friday afternoon for those in the UK, but we also probably will have some people from around the world. So if you're in Australia or, I don't know, Europe somewhere or South America, give us a shout out and let us know where you're at. We'd love to hear from you. So we have a really cool hour. I'm so excited about this actually. So I hope that you guys are looking forward to a good conversation today. Georgia's in Essex. Let's see, we've got Amanda with us. Sue is in Essex as well. Um, we've got Sue in Surrey. It's so good to see you. Happy Family History Friday. Yes, I love that. Roz is in freezing Massachusetts. I'm sorry, it's so chilly. It's not that bad out in Colorado. It's supposed to get up to like 50 something. Right? Every UK meeting starts with a weather check. So let us know what it's like in your part of the world. Rosie's with us today. It's always so good to see you. Ellen is out in Illinois. Let's see, Elaine is trying to find her maternal great grandfather from Scotland. So maybe someone can take a look at that and leave some details. Elaine, let us know where in Scotland and what you're looking for. Renee is boring Oregon. Renee, no, Oregon's not boring. Oregon's beautiful. I love the Pacific Northwest. Okay, Linda's in Salisbury. Oh, we've got people checking in from France, from Michigan. Oh, Audrey, love the hairdo. Thank you so much, Audrey. That's really nice of you. Thanks for noticing too. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to talk first about question of the week. Let me get this up and show you. How have you experienced your ancestral town without actually physically going there? And that's the theme for this week. We're going to talk about this a lot. And we've got some cool stuff to show you. So I hope you guys are excited. So leave your comments in the thread. Tell us about the places you would love to go. If money weren't an issue, if COVID didn't exist, tell us that, but also tell us about how you experience those locations without actually leaving your house. And hopefully, this will inspire some of you for the weekend. I know it's lockdown again, extended lockdown, right, in the UK, and that's really tough. So let's be creative and think about how we can really explore some new locations and open the digital windows to our world. So I'm really excited. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do today that we've kind of hinted at before, but I'm going to really just point it out and be really specific, actually, is leave your destination wish in the comments. And what I want you to do is scroll through the feed as we go through the hour together and look for people who have some place in common with you. Maybe they are wishing to visit the town where you're sitting right now, or maybe they live in the town next door to some place that you want to go because of your research. So find those people in the thread and leave them a message. Try to connect with them. You never know, right? Maybe someone can sneak out on their walk for the day and swing by the cemetery, or take a picture of one of the oldest buildings in town, or the view from their window, right? Maybe that would be beneficial. So start connecting with each other. See if you can find someone that has a point of interest or a location that's in common with you in some way. That's your challenge for today. And I'm excited to see if anything can happen. And be specific, right? So Renee said Denmark, England, and Netherlands. Renee, let us know where in those countries that you want to go. Even if it's a county, right? A village, a town, a county, a state, or a province, depending on where you are in the world. Make sure that you get specific so that we can help each other and we can explore the world together. Okay, let's talk about. Let's take this one down. Let's talk about our new records this week. Very exciting list of records. If you're in Derbyshire, I hope I said that right. Ellie says I didn't say it right. You are going to have a good week. So we've got new births and baptisms, new marriages, new deaths and burials. 35, almost 35,000 births and baptisms added to the collection. Another 17 and a half marriages added to the collection, and almost 25,000 death and burial entries for that collection out in England. So that's a good one. We also did a pretty big update to our crime, prisons, and punishment collection, which is an update to the index only. There's no images attached to these, but just over 92,000 new indexes in that collection. So if you haven't looked at crime, prisons, and punishment for a while, it's definitely time to take another look. And of course, the vast majority of those records are exclusive to Findmypast. So included in that update, again, 92,000 records, is the Court of Great Session in Wales, the Kirkby Stephen Petty Sessions, and there's Herefordshire Prison Register Index and Bedfordshire Gal Registers. I did that one right. I keep practicing, you guys. I swear. So that's new records this week. Let us know what you find. Let us know if you have any success. Again, a great collection to explore and take a look at. And like I said, crime, prisons, and punishment. If you haven't looked at it, there's some really, really great stuff in there. Let's see. So we've got more comments coming in. Keep them coming, you guys. Christine would love to visit County Cavan in Ireland. Let's see. Uh-oh, is Miko in the comments? That could be interesting today. He is. He is. All right. Well, hi, Miko. Good afternoon to you, sir. Diane would like to go to Italy. Oh, me too. There's a couple locations in there. Cheryl says, this is a good one. Let's see. Let me put this one up. We live in a small old mining village in North Yorkshire. A couple of miles away, we have Saltburn by the Sea and Marks by the Sea. So if anybody's looking for any of those locations, let Cheryl know. Send her a quick little message here on Facebook in the thread and let us know. Oh gosh, here's another really great comment from Pat watching over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Pat. She says, I'm in northern France, on the border near the Somme, the battlefields of Europe over several hundreds of years. Yeah, absolutely. A really, really historic location. So that's a great one. Beth is looking to visit more areas in Liverpool, Birmingham, and a few places in Scotland. Me too, Beth. Those locations are top of my list. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. I'm just really excited to get into this today. How do we explore the world, explore our ancestral locations without actually leaving home? So we have been talking about this all week, right? This popped up on our Facebook page earlier this week, and there were some incredible stories about visits that you guys have made to your ancestral locations. And that's fabulous. But obviously in the current environment, we can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. So we started asking the team at Findmypast, what are some of the ways that you explore your ancestral locations without actually leaving the house? And we had some great suggestions, some of which I've used and some of which I have not. So a couple of these were new to me. So I'm going to throw up some of those suggestions, right? So when we want to talk about exploring the world from home, we can do that really in a variety of ways. There's a lot of tools available to us today, and thank goodness for technology that allows us to do this. So we've got Google Earth, of course. There are a variety of maps, both current and, oh, I said current and modern on our slide. Oops. I obviously meant to say current and historic. That's a nice typo to catch in the middle of a live broadcast. You can do live video feeds, right? And I don't know if anybody's really thought about that. I've been kind of had that in the back of my brain for a couple of years, but it's not something that I do regularly. But I think I'm going to start now that we're still in this COVID experience and lockdown. It hasn't really been something that's popped into my brain, but kind of going through this discussion this week, I definitely thought about it. Obviously, battle maps are a great way to explore where our ancestors were located, and photo collections, right? We can talk about the Find My Past photo collection, but also different other tools on the internet. And I'll show you an example of that. And then there's the idea of virtual reality. And that's always a fun one to play with. Um, so we've got a lot of different suggestions, and I know that you guys will all have your ideas as well. So this is just a handful of them, but if you have suggestions, like I see Ursula is recommending YouTube, absolutely fantastic way to explore a different community. Um, there's all sorts of different possibilities out there. So, what are your ways of exploring your ancestral location without leaving? That's what we really want to talk about today. All right, let's see. We've got a whole bunch of people giving lots of comments. Joe wanted to know if these sessions are recorded. They are, Joe. All of our sessions are recorded and they're available on our Facebook page and our YouTube account. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and Joan on watching on YouTube from Mexico. I think that's the first time I've seen someone from Mexico, so that's pretty cool. Diane says Google Maps, Street View, and old maps. Absolutely. So let's get into this a little bit. Let's show you some examples. I'm gonna go to the first suggestion I wanted to share with you. Now, this one was new to me, but probably a lot of you have already used it. This was suggested by Paul Nixon, our military expert at Findmypast. And he said for battle maps, one of the best places is National Library of Scotland. So I was playing around with this week. I've seen map tools like this, right, where they overlay the historic map over the top of a modern kind of satellite shot. And I love these types of tools, right? New York Public Library has features like this, and the United States Geological Survey has a feature like this in their map viewer system. National Library of Scotland is just one example. There are plenty of others, but one of the things that caught my attention on this particular system was the ability to change the transparency of the historic map. I really like that, and I'll show you that in just a second. So what we're looking at is a World War I map overlaid over the modern satellite, right? You can see the date of the map is 22nd May 1918. Gives you some pretty specific information in terms of where in the world you're looking. And I mentioned the transparency. This was one of the coolest features, I think, is that you can kind of, and I hope you guys notice that, right? Look at the battle map itself. It's really kind of right out, it sticks out, right? From a visual perspective. And when you change the transparency, you can see the satellite image much clearer underneath, but still see the details from the battle map. And I love that. When you really zoom in on these, you can really get some good detail. And it's a fantastic way to really study the environment in which your ancestor was involved in a military engagement or a battle. This is just a really, really fantastic tool. So huge shout out to the National Library of Scotland. Impressive map collection, which I've used many times, but this overlay piece is really neat. Okay, so that's one example of how we can do things and experience the world. Another one that I mentioned is live cameras. And, if you think about all the weather cams and traffic cams and all sorts of stuff that's out there today, this is a great way to actually literally look at what's happening in the world right now in this moment. So this is the Times Square cam yesterday afternoon, my time. I took this snapshot at 3:44 yesterday, East Coast time. This is just, I mean, if you've been to Times Square, this is not typically what it looks like, right, on an average afternoon. So this is definitely a great time. We're living through this pandemic, and it's historic, right? So we should be preserving the memories and the experience of living in this, just like we are researching our ancestors' experiences and memories. So take the time to document what the world is like now. That's important too. It'll be important to your descendants. So this is just one example, right? But there are weather cameras all over the world. So just Google it or use your favorite search engine. I don't necessarily prefer Google over any others, but it is our common expression. So take the time to just search for live camera feed and then plop in your location of interest and see what happens. You may be surprised at what pops up. I actually did this a few years ago for one of the towns in Washington State where a bunch of my family is from, and they just had one camera at that point. And I remember being kind of disappointed because it was raining and the camera had a little water on on the lens and you couldn't really see anything. And I did it again yesterday, and they've added a ton more cameras, including one that overlooks the cemetery. And I like no idea why they included a cemetery camera, but there it is. I was really excited about that. So that was kind of cool. I could check in on my ancestors who are buried there. And there's so many of them that I could in the camera. The camera was clear enough that I could actually look down and go, "Oh yeah, there's I know which plot that is." It was pretty cool. So do a search, see what live cameras you can find. I'm kind of watching the comments too, so keep in mind that I'm hovering on 3 different screens right now. There's a lot. You guys are sharing some incredible suggestions, so make sure to keep doing that. It's really, really great. There was one, let's see. Can I do this at the same time? Uh, this one from Beth. Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, that's great. I have a breeding collection of maps. I love that. For various locations. Interesting to compare. Also have some books that have photo collections of various places. That's a fantastic idea, Beth. Um, coffee table books, right? That style book comes to mind when you think about photo books. And I don't know if that's a term in the UK that people use, coffee table books, but it's certainly common enough over here. And yeah, they can be really, really fascinating. The one that's sitting on my coffee table right now is Beer History of America, and I got it from a friend, and it's a little bit of my husband, it's a little bit me because it kind of plays to both of our interests, right? He works for a brewery and he does some home brewing and stuff. So it was kind of a gift for the family, but it's got some really incredible pictures and obviously some interesting history. So Art says cemetery cameras to my comment are probably, let's see, there we go. Probably because of vandalism problems in the past. Yeah, I agree, Art. That's probably true. Good shout on that. Ursula's suggesting digital books are good. Absolutely, Ursula. It's another really great source. Oops. Oh, and Mora, hello from the original Washington. My interest would be a visit to Suffolk and Thetford as one of my lines. My Blakes come from this area. So, do we have any people online today from Thetford, I wonder, that you could connect with? That would be fun. Okay, let's keep going though. We have other opportunities to explore the world around us. And one of the ways that we can explore, I mentioned photograph collections, and there are a ton online, but one of my favorite sites for this is Flickr. Um, Most of you will probably know that the British Library has an incredible Flickr account. In fact, I didn't use it as an example because I knew that if I started, I would not come out for days because it's very easy to get lost in that collection. But I am sharing the Dayton Metro Library Local History, which is out of Dayton, Ohio. And one of the reasons I like this collection so much is because they do historic images, but they also do a modern collection. So they have more recent events like parades and festivals and things like that, which is always interesting to see how the town has developed over time. And my ancestors were in the Dayton area in the early to mid 1800s, and then eventually moved out. I don't have anybody there anymore, but their collection's amazing. And one of the things that I appreciate is that their metadata is really good. So when you click on one of these images, it leads you back to their website and gives you all the source information. And then you can, purchase a copy or whatever you want to do, high res copy and that kind of thing. So, in our list of suggestions from our teammates, Flickr was definitely one of them. But the other one that I had kind of forgotten about was OpenStreetMap, actually. And there are a variety of map tools out there for modern maps, right? And we all know and love them for various reasons. OpenStreetMap is a good one because, and for many reasons, but one of the reasons that I particularly like it is what you're looking at. Now, these are unresolved notes. So all these little red X's on the location markers is somebody manually putting in the data on OpenStreetMap and then leaving some kind of a comment. So this is a piece of kind of mid central New York State that I've been looking at in one of my research projects. And the comment that I highlighted, and I'm going to make this bigger so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. The comment I highlighted is this orangish one right in the middle. And he's talking, the person who put the data in says that there's a third parcel of this recreation area near here, and they're asking for a data source. Now, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with my ancestors that I know of, but it might. The point I want to make is that there's a lot of extra commentary on OpenStreetMap that will allow you maybe some hints or some opportunities to connect with somebody in the local space. So it's another really great map tool. So if you haven't looked at OpenStreetMap, please take some time, right? Take some time to explore it and learn about it. It's a fantastic site. Oh gosh, I see a great comment, and I haven't followed the thread, but it looks like Claire and Linda are connecting in some way, and that is super exciting. Yay! Thank you, ladies. That's fantastic. So good to see that. That's great. Okay. Um, so that's OpenStreetMap. I wanted to share that. But as many of you have said, right, one of the biggest websites out there for us is, of course, Google Earth. And Google Earth advertises itself as the world's most detailed globe. Everybody loves Google Earth, right? If you're not using Google Earth, you're totally missing out. So make sure that you make some time for it today. And play around on Google Earth. Now, one of the things that we all love to do, of course, when we get to anything that has a search engine in it, we immediately start typing in our location and go, yeah, that's what I want to look at. But I would encourage you to look at all of the features of Google Earth. There are several, one of which is a partnership program that they have where people or different organizations or companies can go in and create kind of this map experience. I found one from the History Channel that explores World War I around the globe. So I just clicked on it to see what would happen. And you get all these different little historical tidbits and battle sites and all sorts of things. So this is what it looks like. Just as one example, you can really get in on the detail. And of course, you can move around the map in all of the various ways that Google Earth allows. But also gives you kind of information about the battle. You see there's a black and white photograph there. There's all sorts of content in Google Earth besides just the Earth map itself, right? So make sure that you're looking at all of the features of Google Earth before you just start typing, or maybe after you start typing. I don't know, just take some time with Google Earth. Make sure that you're utilizing everything that they offer. Now, of course, one of the most common ways for us as genealogists to use a map system like Google Earth is to put historical information into context, right? So I've done that many times. This is a map of the township of Pittsfield, Michigan, and the yellow box that's highlighted is the land plot that my ancestor owned, Tallman Brown. He was only there for maybe 20 or 30 years before he passed away. And then all of his children essentially moved out of the area. So I don't really have any family there anymore. But it's interesting to compare the, kind of that black and white historic land and property map to Google Earth and estimate where exactly in the world that actually sits today. So I've done that kind of side by side comparison. I'm pretty sure the railroad runs through his property line now. I might have it kind of one square off. And in the US with our township and range system, all the agricultural plots are all nice and square. It might be a little bit easier, but at the same time in the UK, when you look at that overhead view, you've got all those really well-defined sections of land, even if they're not, straight northwest south lines. I always enjoy flying over the UK. It's just such a different experience for those of us in the States. Now, another thing that I like to do on Google Earth is really pinpoint a location. So this same ancestor is buried in the local cemetery in Pittsfield. And a couple years ago, I was able to visit his gravesite. This is him and his wife. Their graves are actually moved from an older cemetery into the new big one. Most of the cemetery is actually at the top of the hill, kind of in those trees that you're looking at. So they're kind of off in this like little section by themselves, and then there's an almost empty section behind them, and then that's kind of it. It's kind of the corner of the cemetery, right? So what I typically do when I visit locations is I find what I'm interested in, but then I do a full 360 documentation with my camera of where I'm at, right? So that I can find it again if I want to later in life, or I can share that experience in a better way with my father, for example, who's a big Google Maps user himself. So when I take that cemetery, this is what it looks like from Google Earth, right? You can zoom in pretty thoroughly, and I know exactly where those lots, those grave sites are located in the cemetery. You can see there's not really a lot of people around them, and most of the action of the cemetery is up in the trees in different sections. So all sorts of opportunities for using Google Earth, right? I know there are other ways of using Google Earth, so keep the suggestions coming. There are so many great comments. So, Ellie, if I miss anything, she's smiling at me. If I miss anything, we're going to give you a chance to throw up your favorite comments at the end of our chat, okay? So be ready for that. Okay. All right. Google Earth also has some really great built in features just with Google Maps, right? Oh, I forgot to crop this one. That's all right. So, here's a place I've never been. This is Huntsville, Alabama, where my ancestors lived for a little while. And when I search on a location, you almost always get these little featured pop-ups that happen. And I happened to scroll through those and found this one for Constitution Hall Park. It's a open air park that reenacts life in 1819. My ancestors were there probably around 1830, 1840. So it's a little earlier than I'm really interested in, but it's still a great way to explore a location. So I clicked on that, and of course, it gives me lots of wonderful photographs detailing that actual park, right? So that's another opportunity. All these features exist within a program like Google Earth, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of all of them. Okay, so earlier this week on our Facebook page, we asked you guys to tell us about a place you would like to go. And I took one of those examples and tried to find it for myself just to see what would happen. So Susan said that her great grandfather was a shoe mender and lived in a white cottage on what is now called the Vale Road in Guernsey. Guernsey. Would love to visit there. So Susan, we I did a little test with your comment just to see what I could dig up. So I don't know if this is you didn't give us names or anything, so I don't know if these are your people, but I wanted to see what I could learn, and how I could explore this area of the world without actually leaving my house. So I started with trying to identify who these people were, and thought maybe I could find an address for the white cottage. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one, but I did find a boot repairer and dealer in the 1911 census on Findmypast using the address search feature on the 1911 census. I don't know if this is your guy, Susan. You probably already have this record, even if it is, but I thought it was an interesting way to explore using records and more virtual experience like Google Earth and Google Maps. So I pulled this individual just to take a look at him. He is on Vale Road. I don't know. It doesn't say on the census if his cottage was white. I hope it was. I pulled them up on Google Maps just to see what would happen. Vale Road, I learned, is not a very long stretch of road. Right, it quickly turns into St. Clair Hill Road, and then it dies at Tees at the beach. Right, I thought it was interesting that Disco Inferno was so close by to Vale Road. I don't know, that just caught my eye. All right, so then I took this over to Google Earth. And I'm going to drop this. I'm going to take the stop screen sharing for a second, and I'll pull up something a little bit different. Now, I hope you guys enjoy some of this. So let me pull this up. And this is how one way in which I thought maybe I could explore a new part of the world. Now, there's no sound on this video. And as soon as I take myself out of the thread, you'll stop hearing me. But I promise, you're not missing anything. Okay, Google Earth, really cool, right? Like you can totally zoom in, zoom out, fly around, see things in 2D or 3D. I love the ability to use that. I really, really do. It's a really neat experience. If you haven't done this kind of thing, you really need to. But here's where things really got interesting this week. Um, we were talking about this in the inside the team, and um, our friend Miko came up and said, "Hey, how about virtual reality?" And we all kind of went, "Okay, that sounds cool. What's virtual reality all about?" And he just happened to have a headset. So I'm going to make this video as big as I can. This one does have sound. Oh gosh, my mouse is going all crazy. Um, this one does have sound. So let's take a look at VR. This is my first experience with this, but it's really, really neat. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Thanks, Ellie. Sorry about that. There is actually video or sound on this video, and I thought it was playing. So, what Miko is doing right now is in his virtual reality headset exploring the streets of Edinburgh, right? Some of you recognize it, right? That's so great. So, he's showing us that you can kind of fly over the streets, the town, um, and experience it, right? And kind of stand in this place, right? Um, really, really fascinating experience to be able to explore these locations. So let me, yeah, really incredible, right? If you can literally fly through the town. Okay, so hopefully the next one works a little bit better. So here's what happened next. We had all these wonderful comments from all of you guys about where you might want to go in the world and what you would like to see. And we decided to try and check a couple of these out for ourselves. So, one of the messages that we got was from Barbara, and she said that I would love to go to St. Kitts in the West Indies to see where my fourth great grandfather lived to find out about the family. So, Barbara, we decided to go ahead and go to St. Kitts for you. So let me share this video. These are so cool, you guys, and I'm super excited that we got to do this. Okay, St. Kitts. I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna talk as we go through this. And hopefully, I don't know if the video is gonna work. So, starting from kind of 30,000 foot view, um, and looking at virtual reality so that you can actually kind of explore these locations, right? Um, and this is really hard because the video is talking, but I have to talk over it. So, um, we're about to explore St. Kitts, and Miko's going to take us through that. So he's going to use Google, basically Google search, Google Earth essentially. So he's going to type in St. Kitts, and here we go. We're over the islands. So Barbara, this is St. Kitts. So he's kind of figuring out where he's at in the bigger world, right? The Caribbean islands kind of surrounding the area. And we move in as he starts to fly in, you can see the population areas. There we go. This is so cool. So very tropical environment, of course, out in the Caribbean, lots of mountains. Looks like a couple volcanoes. I don't know much about St. Kitts. Um, so he's going to focus on the population centers right around the shore. I hope Barbara is watching, actually. Um, so we start to zoom in, and you can see his controls right in the video. Um, it's very cool. So any place that has Google Maps, you can use these tools with. Yeah, it's like being on a plane, and there's some turbulence. Yeah, I should warn you. Miko said yesterday that I think he said 40% or so of people kind of get like a reaction from this experience, but about 60% find it really normal. At one point, I did ask him to kind of slow down um, his head movement, right? Because it's too quick. So we realized, looking around, that the cemetery is actually not too far from the airport here. So he zoomed in on the cemetery. Now, this is a location that Google Maps has not been to actually do like their street view filming. So you can't get deep down inside on this particular experience. Um, but you can get pretty close to the environment and the town and plan your trip, right, for when COVID is over. It's really, really cool. Um, it's really close to the airport also, we noticed, the cemetery. So forget the beaches, right? You can get off the plane and go straight to the cemetery, Barbara. So your first hour on the island is all planned out for you. Totally feels very immersive, right? It's very much like you're actually in St. Kitts. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's Barbara's experience. Cheryl says, I find it worrying that the cemetery is near the airport. I don't know. I think it's just convenient, actually. All right. So we have a couple more of these, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this. The next one we wanted to share is Penny's comment from Bryn Mawr, Wales. And I think I got that kind of close. Her maternal and paternal family lived there. So we wanted to go see what Wales was all about. Now, I have a very kind of stereotypical image in my head of what Wales is like. And actually, it kind of, I mean, it really kind of fit, right? It worked. Okay. So here's Wales in virtual reality. And again, we start at that really high level. We just had so much fun recording these yesterday, actually, for all of you guys. So we found that there were 2 Bryn Mawrs. Bryn Mawr? Now somebody tell me. Mawr. At least trying to correct me. It's not working very well. Um, so both sides of her family lived there, but we found 2 locations with that name. So we actually started with both, right? We wanted to see which one was more accurate. Um, and that's why you see them on his search history, right? Because we kind of tested this to see um, which which was more accurate, which was probably the village versus maybe kind of an industrial area. So you're looking over Abertillery now. And Miko is commenting on the hills and valleys of Wales. It's such a beautiful landscape. Let's take that off so you guys can see the full picture. Oh, Linda is not enjoying the VR, I don't think. But look at that. Look at the detail you can get to. It rains a lot in Wales. Stephen's commenting, yes, it absolutely does. That's so true. Um, So you've got this environment in which it feels like and it looks like you're standing on the street in Wales, right? And you can walk around and explore the different communities. Um, so Miko's essentially just looking in a 360 view at this point. And then we go back to the other location that we found, same name in Wales. So he goes kind of back out to that higher level, and then I believe he goes back into the village again. Yeah. So he focuses in on a particular location, and in this case, we found a street that we wanted to look at. Um, and we can kind of just explore, right? From a historical perspective, this is all very interesting. But I think from a research perspective, there's a lot of advantages to being able to see the environment live, right? You can kind of study the architecture, the layout of the streets, the way the population moves around the community today, which would indicate historically how that was done. So we found this pub, which is that white building that you're looking at. There we go. King William IV pub with that Welsh flag out front. We learned through our research that this is actually one of the oldest standing pubs in this particular village. Was a popular place in the 19th, 18th, and 19th centuries. All of the miners and laborers probably in the housing across the street and then used this as their village pub. Flipping gives me a headache, Karen says. Yeah, I can understand that. Matthew's commenting, "It's very clever what you can do these days with technology." That's so true, Matthew. And the technology is really expanded, right? I mean, could you ever imagine doing this like 5 years ago? I just don't think that I could have. So Claire asks, "Is Google Earth something you need to buy?" So Google Earth is a website and app. Anybody can access it for free. The technology that Miko is using right now, this virtual reality, is something that you have to purchase. And he told me around $300 or $400. I don't remember off the top of my head what that equates to in pounds. To get this kind of experience, you probably would need to buy the headset piece and the software. But anybody can log into Google Earth and use Google Earth. Okay, that was Wales. What do you guys think of this so far? Let's see. So Tess wants to say, can you go back in time in the virtual reality or Google Earth to see what places look like in previous iterations in the maps? So to my knowledge, you cannot go back in time, but we did learn that Google Earth is currently um, their street view system, they're currently archiving their previous visits to locations. So it doesn't necessarily help us today, but in 100 years, that pile of data is going to be really fascinating, right? That will be pretty amazing. Um, right now, it's the comment was, "Oh, the Smiths down the street got a new car," and we could see that on Google Earth, in Google Street View. But so today, to my knowledge, there is not historic maps incorporated into Google Maps, Google Earth, Google Street View, but there are other sites that are kind of recreating that experience. I've seen a couple of examples out of New York and some of the other US cities where they're taking historic video or historic photographs and kind of overlaying it into that virtual experience. So it is possible to out there. It's just, to my knowledge, not incorporated um, into this kind of Google experience test. Good question though. Okay. Yeah. There's comments about seasickness and motion sickness is very true with this virtual reality. But it is incredibly cool, Julianne says. So yeah, absolutely. Some really, really neat features that are out there today. I know Roots Tech last year, they had an experience like this, and it was, the queue was all kind of lined up for miles. So I didn't check it out. But there are a couple more of these. So, and they get a little bit better as we go. So the next one we wanted to show um, was a town, a village called Iron Bridge. Now the comment here, let's see, let me put my comment back up. Where'd it go? St. Kitts, Iron Bridge, here we go. Rowena said, I'd like to go to my grandfather's hometown of Iron Bridge in Shropshire. Let me go ahead and start the video here. and she was going to go in April, but COVID put an end to that plan. And I just, I feel for that so much because I had a couple of trips planned for this year too, and it's so disappointing to get to a point where you've done the research and you know exactly where to go and what you want to look at, um, and and then it just all falls through, right? No, completely out of control for all of us. Um, so it's really, really tough. Oh, and Lynn commented on our previous conversation. There is historic imagery in Google Earth that can take you back in time to some extent. I didn't know that, Lynn. So thank you very much. I'll have to explore and play around. All right. So this is Iron Bridge in Telford. And let me take this off so you can see the full video. Go back to comments. And Cheryl makes a suggestion to use postcodes. It's an easy way to find houses, etc. If you don't know the postcode, try a local estate agent website to find the locations. Really good suggestion as well, Cheryl. I find myself on real estate sites quite a lot, actually. All right, so this is Iron Bridge. The parish church you can see there, and the surrounding communities. And of course, kind of the central location is the parish, kind of overlooking everything. And here we go flying down into the virtual reality street view. And here's the town of Iron Bridge. Um, it's such a charming little spot. I commented on the pork pies and the vanilla ice, and the old style high street, right through the middle of town, of course. Rowena, I hope that this is it's not necessarily a replacement for your trip to Iron Bridge, but considering we're all at home, it's maybe one of the best replications that we could offer. Um, this was really cool. Really, really charming kind of British town, right? When I think of, I don't know, maybe it's a stereotype, but when I think of kind of the British countryside and small villages, this is what I think about, right? The War Memorial, um, off to the side, and the bridge itself is just right off to the right, of this view. It's just a really charming little village. I wonder if there's anybody out there that actually has is in Iron Bridge or nearby. Jeanette says you've not shown the bridge. Yep. Wait for it, Jeanette. We'll get there. Um, we definitely will show it. Cheryl, Iron Bridge is a holiday destination we've enjoyed many times. You're making me very nostalgic. Yeah, I didn't know it was a holiday destination. That's good to know. Guy says no family link as far as I know to Iron Bridge, but it's a fascinating place. Christine was there in 2017. Sandy says, love Iron Bridge, have been there a few times. Iron Bridge must be a really popular destination. I didn't realize that. I'd never heard of it before. So that's fun. I like that. I'm glad we picked a place that everybody is, relatively, or a lot of people are familiar with. That's really good. This comment's great. Ursula suggests the museum in Madeley has Victorian shops and they dress to that time era. I always appreciate it when the museum goes that extra step. I always enjoy those. Yeah, really good. So we're about to get to the bridge for everybody who's anxiously awaiting for it. So Iron Bridge, a beautiful and ancient town where industry grew up in the late 17th and early 18th century. So this historical context you guys are offering is fantastic. I love learning more about this. So we're looking for, there's the bridge. And it looks a little odd in this view because it's this computer enhanced, right? But there we go. And he's turning around because he actually had a wire wrapped around him at this point, which was pretty funny. But there's the bridge. Lots and lots of history in this little village. And oh, and we noticed that the parish is in the reflection of the water in the video, which was really, really cool. So really awesome, awesome little spot in the English countryside. Really great. Okay. So we have one more of these. Now, we tried to find some really specific locations in your guys' comments, and that got a little tricky. Oh, and Rosie's telling me the bridge is no longer that color. Yeah, I saw some pictures online where the bridge was like more of a reddish, rusty color and that kind of thing. So, not sure when the Google Street View was taken. Um, Jeanette saying, "Lovely to see you again." That's already great. Or that's really great. Sorry. All right. So we have one more of these, which again we tried to find some really specific locations that was a little tricky in the comments that were shared. So I, of course, had one that I wanted to look at. I couldn't let Miko get away without going to Birmingham and exploring some of my research because that's a town and a city I've not yet been able to go to in my couple of trips over to the UK. Miko and I have spent hours talking about my family from Birmingham, so and Warwickshire County, and doing a bunch of research there. I've spent a lot of time on this. We're pretty sure we've narrowed it down to probably St. Martin in the Bull Ring Parish. So I asked him to show me that particular parish. So here we are over Birmingham, and he's explaining kind of the bit about how different cities treated their historic buildings and modernized or didn't. And so we focus in and we start to fly to the parish itself. So this was really, really cool for me. I've never seen this. I've seen pictures of the parish, obviously, but not kind of this experience. Um, Yeah, Birmingham City itself is enormous. I've learned that from maps. Jeanette commented, um, but it's quite something to see it from this perspective, right? So then he takes me to the street view. Fellow Brummy Kelly, um, many years ago, but yeah, probably yes, definitely. Um, so there's the church itself, and I was really struck by the reflection off the more modern buildings and the glass onto the church. The lighting there was just really, really incredible. Um, and of course, the theory is that there was probably a churchyard that's been paved over there. So I'm standing with my ancestors, right? Yeah. Daphne, steady the bops, Miko. Yeah, exactly. It's easy to get caught up, I think, in this experience when you're and you guys can see on the video on the margin, he's got the headset on his face, which I made sure to share here because I thought it looked funny. Um, and as Cheryl has already mentioned, you can go inside the church on Google Earth. And so here we are inside the parish. Uh, and this, I can't even begin to describe you guys. This experience yesterday was so incredible. This is where my ancestors were likely baptized, married, and Miko literally took me on a tour inside the parish itself. And this is, I will admit, will freely admit, I totally teared up in this experience. This was such an incredible way to experience this and bring my research to life quite literally, right? Um, all of the old monuments, quite old, right? I'm 1500s. Perhaps I haven't even gotten a chance to look it up yet. I showed this video to my family last night and it was just amazing, right? Jeanette says, takes your breath away. Absolutely. And the colors in the stained glass and the way it reflected on the wall inside the church and just the quality of the experience was just amazing. Guy said, Jen, you look really moved. I was. This was quite an experience for me. Jeanette said, I hope he gives you a copy. Thankfully, Jeanette, I was the one who actually made the video. So it's recorded on my hard drive forever and ever. It's really, really a remarkable experience. Um, yeah, amazing how technology has changed over 20 years, Terry says. That's so true. So here we are in this inexperience. This we're all in this kind of global environment where traveling isn't allowed. Some of us are in lockdown, not even allowed to really leave our houses for any period of time. Um, and yet, because of technology, we can experience something that would have been impossible, just not too long ago. Um, so my huge thanks to Miko for sharing his technology with us, and working after hours. I will add. Oops. Oh, we'll just leave it. That's a nice picture, isn't it? Um, it's just such a cool experience. So if you get the chance to explore virtual reality in terms of your research, I highly recommend it. If it doesn't make you wheezy, I know it does for a lot of people. It's I don't know about in the UK, but in the US, we've seen libraries and other kind of public facilities starting to invest in this type of technology, so you can go in and experiment and play around. Um, and yeah, if you get the chance, do it. It's just incredible. So, whew, we've got 4 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, whew, just watching it again. That was just yesterday that we did that. It was just really incredible. So we've got a few comments that are coming through, and some of them are really great. Um, this one, Amanda hit it really well, I think, right? Have visited several cathedrals where my medieval ancestors are buried and see their tomb effigies. I can't explain the emotions of seeing them. Great to know we can do this virtually. That's exactly right. So we may all be stuck in lockdown, but there's still a lot of opportunities out there for us to explore our ancestral origins. And it was a roller coaster, Daphne, right? Um, yeah, and we will ask, Denise said, hope Miko can share the details of what tech you would need to see that in VR. She's got a birthday coming up. That's great. We will ask Miko to do that. And I'm not sure if we'll do it on Facebook or what platform, but we'll definitely get him to do that for us. It's Matthew over on YouTube said, thanks for the video. I have to go, but I'll watch the rest later. Wonderful ideas here. And I know that you guys have all been sharing your ideas about exploring things virtually as well. So thank you very much for that. Ellie, was there anything you wanted to pop up? She's got something for us. Okay, she's got one. What did Ellie see that I missed? Uh-oh, let's see. Here we go. Darren Darren and Sarah Cooper. Sorry, it took me a second. Got blessed and married in St. Martin's and went to Sunday school there with my nan and auntie. Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. It's like we're connected. So great. Um, that's so wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that, Darren and Sarah. That's so great. Um, a couple years ago, I had the chance to actually walk through in person one of my parish churches in London, St. Dunstan, and that was an experience I'll never forget. And thankfully, that was all recorded on video as well. Talked about that recently, actually. So if you get the chance to travel, obviously do it, but take the time now that we're in lockdown and we're in COVID, and explore it virtually. Ellie's got another one for us. Cindy says, now you're on my home patch. I walked around the jewelry recorder 3 years ago. Very interesting. The only ancestors, though, are me and my sibling who are Brummies. I can't wait to actually prove all this research so I can call myself a Brummie as well. Maybe I can get away with that. Maybe you guys will let me. We thought about kind of exploring the jewelry recorder, but then I said the parish, and I'm so glad that we did, because it was just, that was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this little experiment in virtual reality. Miko and I had a ton of fun putting it together for you. And for those of you whose comments got highlighted, really hope that you get the chance to watch that and enjoy it. And if you want the raw footage of the video, send us an email and let us know, and I will be happy to send those to you directly. It is, of course, Friday afternoon. We're at the top of the hour. If you have made some discoveries, please share them in the comments. Tell us how they made you feel. We want to know about your stories and your experiences in family history. You can also send them to us, discoveries@findmypast.com. And you can see a bunch of them online, findmypast.co.uk/page/family-discoveries. So those are all there for you to enjoy. But we really, really encourage you to send us your stories, whether you do it through Facebook or Instagram comment or send us an email. We would really, really love to know how Find My Past is helping you discover your family history. We have some wonderful, wonderful content coming up next week. We'll share that on Monday, just like always. We hope everybody has a really fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be careful out there, take care of each other, take care of the people you love. Thanks so much for being with us, and we will see you next time on Find My Past from Home.